helps me that everyone will stand up. They'll be speaking.
Yes, I am. Are you going to speak? Oh, well, I got a story to tell.
Yeah, I guess I'm getting called up.
Hey, good morning. Hey, Jason Gregory. Jason, Chris Weinberg. Nice. Oh, I've seen your name. Yeah. Okay, great. Are you going to SDNC? I am. You are? Okay. So,
Oh, my.
call me up there and say, all I need is like prior for Jennifer. For Jennifer, if I'm not mistaken. So she does this for you. She'll bring you up. Okay, all right, good to go. Yeah, thank you. She'll be up there for a while. Yeah.
You okay?
You can see again.
Every time I'm in here, it's fire. It's over here. So it's gonna be hot. Thank you for your
I am. I'm a.
Yes.
I'll have to talk to you. No, I've been active duty for 5 years.
How are you?
Thank you. I got it. Thank you.
Have a seat.
Okay.
As they say in the military, take seats.
Boy, you know, yesterday was open.
Thank you. Right now,
Oh, yeah, we are. Here we go.
I'll tell them that they can probably go to Great West for it. Like after they raise it, just go back to Great for like fishing.
And then just like.
Or Eddie can. Yeah, just tell them Eddie's.
Okay.
Just don't lock the key down and stuff. But I'll go talk to them. Yeah.
love you and Mom. Please tell my brothers and the rest of the family I am safe and well. The remainder of the letter is for you only. I figured I could talk to a Vietnam vet. I have only been here 2 months, but I have seen more than I ever thought I would see. As you know, we are losing men and women every day in this meat grinder. Most of our soldiers are injured by IEDs. This enemy does not have the courage to fight us face to face. Or they're too smart to fight us face to face. None the matter though, we will win this war. I know that when I look at the soldiers in my platoon and company and I see the drive and heart. They are here fighting for something bigger than this dusty hole in the map. On a brighter note, Pops, I doubt we'll be here the full 12 months. We heard this morning that the Navy SEALs killed Osama bin Laden. Your squids for the win. He is the reason I joined the Army in 2001. And now I'm here in Afghanistan on the day we finally took our revenge. Now all the promises we made to the victims of 9/11 are fulfilled, and we can bring our young men and women home with honor and get out of this God-forsaken land. I'm hopeful that the leaders of the Army of our nation have read a book or two. I hope they realize that these are the same sands and mountains that crushed Alexander the Great, set the sun on British India, and caged the mighty Soviet bear. I have faith we will leave soon as our job here is done. I have faith they will not keep us here for no reason. I am hopeful we can heed the warning of the Princess Bride's Vizzini. Ha ha, you fool! You fell victim to one of the classic blunders, the most famous of which is never get involved in a land war in Asia. Love, Kyle.
It was a short thing, but I just wanted to kind of get everyone's attention. That was just to get everyone's attention. Hey, Gabe.
How you doing, dear? Did they take look at you with
Yep.
together, right?
Yep. Look right
Perfect.
there.
That was a good idea. You should go take that.
Thank you.
Get a security card. Just got you right there. I'm glad we got a good.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, do I need it?
No. And she knows. Huh? At 10? Is the mic on?
Okay, that was just to get your attention. We're starting in about 1 minute.
Bagpipes can start, please.
Still have the ring. Not yet.
I mean, no, it was.
Good morning. If everybody could please be seated. My name is Chris Wendell, and I'm the Director of Sales here at Green Hills Memorial Park. On behalf of our Board of Directors and our management team and staff, I'd like to welcome everyone today to our 40th annual Memorial Day observance. In wedding metrics, that would be our Ruby anniversary. Just by a show of hands, how many have been to one of our programs before? All right, welcome back. How about anybody new? First-timers? Great, okay, welcome. Today's program will be acknowledging the 25th anniversary of the attack on our country that happened on September 11th, 2001. Prior to September 11th, our country had been attacked before, and those with us that are fought in World War II can certainly attest to that today. But the attack on 9/11 was different. It happened in the continental United States on our home soil, and it happened in arguably one of the most recognizable metropolises in our country, Washington, D.C. and New York City. There are very few events in our lives where you'll remember exactly where you were and exactly what you were doing when an event took place. 9/11 is one of those moments. I remember people gathering around a small TV in a Manhattan Beach gym the wee hours in the morning, wondering what was so interesting about a burning building on the other side of the country. And then the second plane hit. 4 commercial airliners had been hijacked by Al-Qaeda terrorists that day, targeting the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. 3 of the 4 planes hit their target, while the passengers on United Flight 93 bravely revolted, led by passengers like Todd Beamer, who stormed the cockpit and forced the plane down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, while sacrificing their own lives. My wife was traveling in Canada that day, and they wouldn't let her or anybody else back in the country for the better part of a week, and I could just remember how powerless I was to get her back, and how hard it was on her being isolated outside the country during that trying time. As a former New Yorker, I had a lot of friends that were in that city that day, not knowing if they were alive or dead. One of my best friends recalls looking out his company window in the financial district as his building was engulfed in smoke. Another friend found himself in a crowd that was literally swept away from the carnage, and he eventually found himself cut off at the harbor with nowhere to go. And then something remarkable happened on that small boat dock along the Manhattan shoreline. You see, when the towers fell, the bridges and tunnels were all closed. Subways stopped running, and hundreds of thousands of people were trapped in lower Manhattan. There was no official evacuation plan for that type of catastrophe. So ordinary people, New Yorkers, created one. Boat captains, ferry operators, tugboat crews, fishing boats, sightseeing boats, even private citizens began steering toward Manhattan instead of away from it. Throughout the day and into the evening, they evacuated nearly 500,000 people off that island by water. Historians later called it the largest boat evacuation in history. Now, what makes this story so extraordinary is that most of the captains, they had no orders, no coordination, and no certainty about what dangers still lied ahead. They simply saw people in need and moved toward them. Years later, one captain was asked why he went back again and again and again into the smoke and into the confusion, and his answer was really simple: because that's what people are supposed to do for each other. My friend rode that ferry around the New York City harbor for hours watching his beloved city burn, and we lost 2,977 American citizens that day. One of my friends that I carpooled to when I was when I was 10 years old lost his big brother when the towers came down. Todd Polino was a superstar, and his family was the epitome of the all-American family. Each one of the boys, all 3 of them, were all-league soccer players, perfect students, and they all looked like they stepped off a magazine cover. But many of us knew a person or knew a person that knew a person that died on that tragic day. Somehow, all of us were touched by this tragedy. Now, most cemeteries in memorial parks have a bronze memorial that honored those who fell in the 9/11 attacks. I drive by our memorial every morning when I go to work. It's right down by our chapel, but admittedly I haven't read it in many years. And the memorial reads, "Through blurry eyes, we find the strength and courage to soar beyond the moment. We look to the future knowing we can never forget the past. God bless America." 25 years later, we are the future, but we certainly have not forgotten those that perished on that day, nor the soldiers that died eliminating the scourge that planned that attack. Just over 7,000 American soldiers died during the post-9/11 wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and an additional 8,200 U.S. contractors died supporting the war, which brings the total number of Americans lost from this event to just about 18,000. Our program today honors all the Americans that were lost on or after the 9/11 attacks. Today's musical performance was by Navy Band Southwest. Troop 854 will now present the flags. Enlisted uniform will be assisting Troop 854. Sergeant Juan P. Torres, U.S. Marine Corps, will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Ooh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ran glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, St. Us, that's our spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
If everyone would take their seats, please. Today we'll be hearing from 3 speakers, all of whom served in Operation Iraqi Freedom or were directly impacted by it. Our first speaker will be Staff Sergeant Evelyn McLarty, Army retired. Sergeant Mac.
Good morning, everyone. Or shall I say in military, hoorah! Just want to see if you're out there. First of all, January 16, 2006, we were hit with a mortar in Iraq, Camp Anaconda, and that's as much as I can tell you about that because I'm still gradually growing with that and dealing with it daily. But I'm encouraged to let you know that I can stand here before you and say that my Sergeant Major Jesse Acosta survived, and he's still here today to tell the story. So I'm Staff Sergeant Evelyn McLarty. I joined the Army October 8, 1984. I was with the Headquarters Adjutant Battalion 361st in Sacramento, California. So I was born and raised in Sacramento, and I came here and I became a member of the 349th General Hospital. It was a 1,000-bed hospital when I came. They bumped it down to like a 500-bed. And Sergeant Major Jesse Acosta was my first sergeant. I've been with him from 1984 till now. And right now he's president of Thank a Vet. If you love your freedom, thank a vet. I support him in that. And because of the loyalty, duty, respect, honor, integrity that I showed, I guess I stood out and here I am today, still working with him. He was mean as heck, though, but I'm still here. But I just wanted to say thank you to the leadership of this great event. This is the first time I've ever stood and said anything to anybody as much as I've just told you about my ordeal in Iraq, my experience. It was an experience. I'm glad to be alive. I was there when Sergeant Major, we were hit with a mortar. I thought I had lost my best friend in the world. He was medevaced out, and we were still there to carry on. And because of everything that he instilled in us, we were able to find strength to make it to the end of the tour. I left 3 children behind, and they are the best children. I have 2 serving in the Navy. 1 worked the post office, and where I retired from as well. So I'm very happy to have experienced what I have. I just want to say to the families who have lost, be encouraged. That's what helped me. Even though my Sergeant Major's still there, there was those that we would meet up, and sometimes soldiers didn't show up, and it was because they were gone. So that was kind of heartbreaking. You would think, am I next? Is it going to be me next? What's going to happen to my children? What's going to happen to my family? But whatever the case and the course was, we stood it, we worked it, because as Sergeant Major always said, duty first. Thank you.
I had the pleasure of meeting Sergeant Mack when I got here today, and I didn't know if she was going to work the mean as heck angle in there. That slid in there pretty well. The Navy Band Southwest will now perform the Armed Forces Medley. As you hear your branch medley, please stand so we can recognize you or your family services. While we have a minute, and Jen says we have a couple, I want to address something that may be on some of your minds this afternoon. Some might be wondering why we chose to dedicate our Memorial Day to remember such a horrible moment in our country's history. Isn't this tragedy something we shouldn't be talking about, burying it deep down, never to mention again? I've thought about this more than once while we were setting up this program, and then I ran across a story online that kind of put it all in perspective for me. And the story goes like this. A man once visited an old stonemason who was working quietly in a cemetery. Okay, that was topical for me. He watched him for a while and finally asked, "How do you do this work every day? Doesn't it become sad?" Now, people have asked myself and my coworkers that many, many times, to which the stonemason said, much more eloquent than I did, "Sad, but not in the way you would think." The stonemason smiled gently and said, and he brushed the dust from the stone in front of him and continued, "You see sadness because these markers represent endings. I see evidence that someone was loved enough to be remembered." The visitors looked around, row after row after row of names stretched across the hillside. The stonemason pointed toward them and said, "Every one of these stones tells me that someone laughed here. Someone was missed at the dinner table. Some taught their children how to ride a bicycle, held a hand through a tough moment, celebrated birthdays, worked hard, sacrificed quietly, or simply showed up every day for the people they cared about." And then he paused and said something that the visitor in the story and I will never forget. People think memorials are about death. They're really about the love that outlived a lifetime. The visitors stood there silently for a moment, looking at the names differently now, not as markers of loss, but as proof that ordinary lives leave extraordinary echoes. And maybe that's one of the most important things gatherings like this should be reminding us of. A person does not disappear simply because time passes. Their influence continues in the stories we tell, the values we carry forward, the kindness we repeat, and the memories that unexpectedly return to us in the following years. Long after a voice is gone, its echo remains in the people it touched. That is why remembrance matters, and that is why today matters in remembering those that perished on 9/11. Okay, not yet. Okay. The Navy Band Southwest is going to play another melody for us. Thank you. Our second speaker today will be Sergeant Major Jesse Acosta, Army retired.
Two more steps.
Is that you, Jennifer?
That's me. Okay, now turn forward. Podium's right here.
Got it.
Okay. We have someone behind you.
What a long trip. Hey, hold on a minute. All right, still in the morning. Just checking. Yeah, that was a trip, all right. So, good morning to you all. Join me with a hoo-ah. That's right, that's right. And the Marines say what? Hoorah. Hoorah. Of course, I'm joking. I used to train with the Jarheads in Pendleton years ago, with them in the SEALs. My name is Sergeant Major retired Jesse Rigoberto Papichulo Acosta. So, I got to throw that in now and then, So, I'm first generation American. My parents were immigrants. My father German and my mother a Mexican. And they raised a warrior, okay? Born in East LA, I joined the United States Army at the age of 18 when I graduated out of Pioneer High School. Off I went. So when I brought the paperwork to my father and said, Dad, I'm joining the Army, you need a sign. He looked at me. He had that German look in him. Then he looked at me again. He goes, why didn't you join the Navy? And I told him, because I don't want to get eaten by sharks. My dad was the World War II Navy. He fought in the South Pacific. That's why he brought it up. I come from a family of nothing but combat warriors. My dad, myself, and I had 3 nephews. One of them that was in Iraq when I was hit by the bomb. And 2 other ones, brothers, that were from my little sister. They joined, one a corpsman, another one a Marine. And all 3 of them went to Afghanistan at the same time. So, here's how my story goes. I joined at the age of 18, like I said, not knowing what the heck I was doing. Vietnam had just ended in 1975. That's when I graduated. And I just, as my mom would say in Spanish, you're a chile frito. You know what I mean? Meaning hot stuff. I already had a daughter at the age of 17. So, how can I support my daughter, get her medical benefits and whatnot and things of that nature? So, I joined. I was in 11 Bravo Infantry, and I moved on up the ranks, slowly but surely. And I have to give a shout out to my brothers. I want every Vietnam vet to stand up, please. Stand up. If it was not for you Vietnam vets teaching me how to be a fighter, a warrior, and how to take care of your own and never leave anybody behind, I would not have reached the rank of Sergeant Major. I guarantee you that. But because of them, it was embedded in me. And boy, was it embedded in me. They were tough, expert jungle fighters, and at the same time, a huge heart. They love their country. We know what happened, but you're home now, and we'll do the best we can to support you in any way we can. I own a nonprofit. It's called Thank a Vet Now. You could check us out. I came home the way I did, pretty banged up. I was mangled. I have no eyes. My jaw was blown off. My teeth were gone. So this I will say. the Navy did an excellent work. I believe so. Right? Am I right? Yeah. So my troops would say, "Dang, Sergeant Major, it took a bomb to make you look good." Really? Come here, bozo. Get down. It was the Navy at Balboa Naval Hospital that put Peace Mead together. And as Staff Sergeant McGlarty mentioned, she was there with me. I've known her for 40 years. We were young back in the day. And as she said I was mean, I wasn't mean. I was just training them, But it's okay. She's still here. All my troops came home. Thank God for that. I was the only one hit by the bomb. I absorbed it, and that lights out. My family, they were notified to prepare to go to Ramstein, Germany, to retrieve the coffin draped with the flag. As I stated earlier, I was born in East L.A. I wasn't going down that easy. I survived. So the nightmare began when I came home. Literally, the nightmare began when I came home. Why do I say that? Well, we all know if you have come home the way I did, or close to it, with injuries and whatnot, and not to mention, I would not yet let this young lady go, Staff Sergeant McGlarty, because she fell in a deep depression, PTSD. And the only way I could salvage her and save her was to grab her and pull her to the side. She is my chief of operations, and she does an excellent job with my nonprofit. So like I said, you Vietnam vets taught me real good. You leave no one behind. So I came up with this nonprofit, 2011, of Thank a Vet Now. If you love your freedom, thank a vet. That was our motto. And why? Why did I come up with that? Because I did not like the way I was treated when I came home. That's when I understood why our Vietnam vets would not visit the VA. Mind you, I'm on my third VA. The first one was a joke in Palo Alto. The second one, not too far from here, they kicked me out. I was not nice to them. So I ended up in Long Beach. And there they told me, that's when I realized I had some real serious issues. They said, "Sergeant Major, we will take care of all your needs, medical needs and whatnot, but you first must go to counseling. We heard what you did at GLA VA. That's West LA VA. I said, fair enough. Off I went to counseling. By then, I had a guide dog, Charlie Boy. That's the logo right here. We use him as our guide to guide us in the right direction. My counselor introduced himself, and I said, "Aren't you going to close the door, sir?" He goes, "Are you kidding? I heard what you did at West LA VA. Not only are you big, so is your dog." I had a huge German Shepherd, Charlie Boy. And so I sat there, fair enough. So I went through counseling for PTSD. After years of counseling, I realized the door was not, it was shut. And I go, "Oh, the door's shut. You want me to open it?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Sergeant Major, you've come a long way." So I was confused. "What do you mean?" You don't need to come anymore." Excuse me, I get emotional about it. These are flashbacks I had every night because of the bombing. I thought I lost troops. Thank God I didn't. Because I absorbed the blast, they all lived. I was the one that went down. That's okay. I thank God every day for bringing me home this way. It's a reminder of what we go through. You know, the Constitution starts with "we the people." Well, there should be one for our warriors, we the warriors. You could fill in the blanks. So this is how I came home. I said, okay. Not to mention, of course, with all my issues, my losses, like I said, I've never done this in public speaking, and I've been all over the United States speaking. But I will do it here in my home state. This is how I came home. No eyes. And like I mentioned, my jaw was blown out, teeth blown out. Everything was restructured, taking pieces of my pelvic, bone grafting it, and putting implants. My teeth were straighter than implants, I'll tell you that. And then on I went, and I said, okay. I got addicted to drugs. All the pain meds they were giving me, you name it, I had it. I had a huge drawer full of pain pills. I was able to kick it after 5 years. Then I said, you know what? I'm going to get back on my feet. I don't know how, but I am. I went back to work. By the way, I'm the first and only blind sergeant major in United States Army history to serve 4 years active duty. Man, what a record, right? We do it the hard way. But anyways, so I went back to work. I asked Southern California Gas Company, will you let me work? They scrambled to get things for me. They did the best they could. It was a no-go. But I gave them credit for trying at least. So I brought in an expert who trained me at the blind school that I went to get back on my feet. I cleaned up my act. I was drug-free. I went back to work. I was in management for Southern California Gas Company. And there I retired not too long ago from Southern California Gas Company. And I'm enjoying life. I love it. You know? It's not all about the money. A lot of people say, wow, Sergeant Major, you must make a lot of money. And I'm like, really? I didn't raise my right hand for money, I'll tell you that, because we're poor in the military. You don't make money. At least the enlisted don't. But if you're an officer, well, you know, your pay's a little bit higher. But I went back to work. As I stated, I was in management. And there I took off. I retired. I accomplished everything I set out to do in life. I raised my right hand to defend the Constitution of the United States. God, country. I did that. We did that. Okay, we did that. Not me alone. Everywhere I was deployed, every single country I was deployed, I always had my Bible with me. And in the Bible, I had a small flag in that Bible. A reminder of who I'm here for. You all. So, have you noticed our majors are long-winded? Right? Oh, wait. Natasha, my forehead needs to be patted. You get it? I'm joking. So, by the way, I don't know if we have or not. I think the band is over here to my right, your left. Am I correct? Yes, sir. That's the Navy band? Hey, do you guys play Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven? Nothing like that? Okay. All right. Oh, well. We'll catch you later. So, excellent band. They played damn good. There you go. So, with that said, one more thing I'd like to add. I realized during this deployment, my last deployment, was that I had some females in it. We were a PSP. We were AG, actually, Adjutant General. Me, Adjutant General. I'm a grunt. So they said, Sergeant Major, you're taking this group overseas to Iraq, Mortarville. Mortarville, I never heard of it. Anaconda. Really? Okay. Every single day we were hit. When we arrived in the C-130, the chief threw our stuff off the aircraft, and I'm looking at him. I go, "What's the problem?" He goes, "Get the hell off my ship. You guys are under attack." I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, just throw on the tarmac. They'll pick it up later. Get out of here." That was our welcome to Iraq. And I said, "Holy, we were scrambling in bunkers and all that stuff, to stay out of harm's way." Every single day we were hit by mortar, RPGs, and small arms fire. Every single day. That one day they got me. But that's okay. I fooled them again. I'm still here. So, as I was stating, I had two young ladies. One, Staff Sergeant McGlarty, and another one, Sergeant Maria Salinas. We used to call her Little Bit, because she would straddle the M16 and would drag on the floor, so we called her also Muzzle Dragger, right? Mac, she's tall, so she would kick the door and scan high. Maria would scan low. She was too low to the ground. Them two young ladies were the only two that had babies. Maria had just given birth to her baby son and was deployed with me. I didn't know these people. I only knew Mac because she was with me years ahead. And Mac, of course, with her 3 babies. And if you can see them in action, I was blown away. I go, man, these are things us grunts do, and these ladies are stepping up. That's when I really, really realized how valuable our women are to our mission and to the United States Armed Forces. They would cry, and I was like, what do I do? There's nothing in the manual that says when they cry, do you hug them? Do you give them candy? What do you do? There's nothing in the manual about that. You just soldier on. And they did, and they came home. And she, along with Mac, could not see me for years, couldn't even talk to me because of my outcome. But I got them all back together now. If you love your freedom, you thank a vet. We just had an annual event. Come to our next one. It's going to be our 11th one. And we have it. You might love the place and heard about it, Pachanga. Okay, every April of every year, we hold our event there, golf event, raise money to take care of our men and women. So I think that wraps it up for me. And, if there are any questions, I'm sorry, I can't see your hand up in the air. So I'm going to end it with, I love you all. God bless America. God bless you all. Natasha. Are you here?
Right here.
There you go. Here we go. Pay attention to that. They probably pull the chair out of me.
Where were you when the world stopped turning? That September Did you notice the sunset for the first time in ages? Speak to some stranger on the street. Did you lay down at night and think of tomorrow and go out and buy you a gun? Did you turn off that violent old movie you're watching and turn on I Love Lucy reruns? Did you go to a church and hold hands with some strangers? Stand in line to give your own blood? Did you just stay home and cling tight to your family? Thank God you have somebody to love. I'm just a singer of simple songs. I'm not a real political gal. I watch CNN, but I'm not sure I can tell you the difference in a buck and a ram. But I know Jesus and I talk to God, and I remember this from when I was young. Faith, hope, and love are some good things He gave us. The greatest is love. I'm just a singer of simple songs. I'm not a real political guy. I watch CNN, but I'm not sure I can tell you the difference in a buck and a ram. But I love Jesus and I talk to God, and I remember this from when I was young. Faith, hope, and love are some good things He gave us. The greatest is love. The greatest is love. And the greatest is love. Where were you when the world stopped turning on that September day?
Thanks, Laura. You wouldn't know it, but Laura just learned that song. Jen asked her to learn it. It's called Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning, and it's by country recording artist Alan Jackson. Thank you for taking the time to do that. Our third speaker today is Dawn Anzac, Gold Star family member.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Dawn Anzac, and I'm a Gold Star family member. I would like to tell you about my nephew and my hero. Corporal Joseph Anzac Jr. was born and raised in Torrance. He went to Seaside Elementary, Calumet Middle School, and South High School. He graduated from South High School in June 2005. School was a challenge for Joe, but he always wanted to play football. He joined the South High football program as a freshman and played all through high school, ending as a nose guard for the varsity team in his senior year. Joe's senior year, the team went on to the CIF playoffs. And since he was little, Joe always wanted to be a G.I. Joe, and he enlisted in the Army while still in high school. He left for boot camp right after high school graduation and was eventually assigned to the 10th Mountain Division, stationed at Fort Drum in upstate New York, where he continued his training. Joe trained as a saw gunner, saw meaning squad automatic weapon. A saw gunner is an infantry role in which the U.S. Army responsible for laying down heavy suppressive fire. These gunners provided the tactical base of fire, allowing the rest of the unit to maneuver. This gunner position is notoriously demanding, as the gunner carries a fighting load of upwards to 60 to 80 pounds due to the weight of the weapon itself, plus the required hundreds of rounds of linked ammunition. Joe was deployed to Iraq in September of 2006 as part of the troop surge. Joe and his unit were stationed outside of Fallujah, Iraq, in an area known as the Triangle of Death. Joe's unit operated outside the military base, living and working out of a bombed-out compound they called the Castle. On May 11th, 2007, Joe and 6 other soldiers, plus an interpreter, were assigned to guard a specific stretch of road. In the early morning hours of May 12th, which was also Mother's Day, their position was attacked. Joe was wounded and taken prisoner, along with 2 other soldiers. The other soldier's interpreter were killed in the attack. At the time, the attack was national news, as Al-Qaeda had not before taken prisoners of war. The names of those killed and captured soldiers had not yet been released due to the pending notification to the families. And since Joe's dad worked second shift, my brother was not notified until May 13th. When I first heard the news of the attack, I prayed for the families of the killed and captured soldiers, only to then learn I was praying for my own family. 11 days later, on May 23rd, Joe's remains were recovered. The remaining other 2 soldiers would be recovered 14 months later. Joseph was just 20 years old. Joseph was awarded the Bronze Star Medal, the Purple Heart, the Good Contact Medal, the National Defense Medal, the Iraqi Campaign Medal, and War on Terror Medal, and the Prisoner of War Medal. Joe was buried in Arlington National Cemetery alongside others in his unit. And I saw Torrance police officers here. A special shout out to the police department. My family remembers how you protected our family during that extremely difficult and unnavigatable time. Thank you. I'm not done yet. As his aunt, I would describe Joe as a bit of a prankster who broke out into an easy smile, was kind, always willing to lend a helping hand, and would give you the shirt off his back. Joe was the oldest of the cousins living in the area, and my daughter Jilly was the youngest. There was a 12-year difference. My brother was a single parent, and our family would help with Joe and his sister Casey. As I mentioned before, school was challenging for Joe, especially reading and writing. Joe spent several days a week at my home working on whatever he needed to complete school. And when all the schoolwork got to be a bit much for him, Joe would take Jilly outside to kick a soccer ball or to play a couple mad games of mousetrap. Over time, Joe and Jilly became quite a pair, Jilly looking up to Joe and considering him her hero. Up to that point, at age 4, she had also declared that she wanted to join the Army. Memorial Day is a time to remember and honor our fallen heroes. My family believes the best way to honor Joe is to be of service to his brothers and sisters in arms. I am most proud of Jilly's continued effort to do just that. After Joe's death, on one fun day, and being only 7 years old, Jilly announced she was going to write Joe a letter to tell him about the day, only to then realize that he was gone. We talked about it and decided the best thing to do was to write letters to other soldiers who were still deployed in Iraq. Jilly invited some of her friends to help in her project, which we called Cards for Soldiers, started then. We asked Jill's teacher if we could bring it to the classroom, and soon after, the card writing extended to Redondo, Torrance, and Hawthorne schools. We stopped counting the cards when we got to 5,000. Now 26 and living in Colorado, Jilly continues her Cards for Soldiers efforts, including her friends, church, workplace in the effort. And while we continue to honor and remember Joe, it's not lost on my family that by this time next year, Joe will be gone longer than he was on this earth. Joe has a nephew and a number of second cousins who will never know his pranks or the laughter and support from this caring young man. It's with the passage of time we now see the missing pieces in our family due to Joe's death. And I'd like to introduce you to another of my heroes. Jojo, stand up. Joseph Sr., Joe's dad. We will never forget our hero.
Okay, so it's still morning, so good morning. I'm going to read a poem for you in just a moment, or I should say recite a poem, and it's called We Remember Them. So before I start, I want you to take a brief moment and let's remember them. They were called by a morning that broke the world in two, by smoke-filled skies and ringing phones, and a silence no one knew. They answered not with questions, but with boots upon the ground, with hands that steadied trembling hearts when hope was hard to find. They crossed the seas for strangers, for a promise not yet clear, carrying the weight of freedom and the cost of living here. Some fell beneath foreign stars, names etched in stone and flame. Some came home with wars inside, no medicine could name. Some carried photographs from home inside a weathered sleeve, holding close the lives they loved through every Christmas Eve. They dreamed of front porch lights at dusk, of quiet streets in peace, while standing watch through endless nights, praying violence soon would cease. They were daughters, they were sons, they were laughter, grit, and grace. They were ordinary souls who stood in history's place. Some left behind unfinished plans, young hearts and aging hands, yet gave their days to something more to guard this fragile land. And every freedom that we hold each ordinary day was purchased by the sacrifice of those who walked away. So today we speak them present. I'm going to repeat that line. And I'm repeating it because I say everyone dies twice in this world. The day they take their last breath and the day that their name is no longer spoken. So today we speak them present. Though their voices fade from view, we remember how they lived and what they gave and who they knew. May we walk more gently forward on the ground their courage won. May we live lives worthy of the sacrifice they've done. And may we never forget, not the day, not the fight, not the cost, for freedom is not free and is paid for by the lost. Well, if that wasn't good timing, I don't know what is. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Commander Jason Gregory, Chaplain Corps, United States Navy from the USS Essex, who will lead us in today's benediction.
Good morning, everyone. Man, thank you again for your words. I've been looking at all these faces here on the Hill. I'm reminded Memorial Day is inherently family-centric. Families share in that ongoing sacrifice. So thank you. Thank you all for being here today. I do remember where I was on September 11th. I was actually in seminary in Mississippi, and we felt helpless. We were watching the footage on the news, and the most natural thing in the world for us to do was to enter the chapel and just to begin praying. And so if you see fit, would you please bow your heads in prayer with me now? Let us pray. Eternal Father, on this Memorial Day, we pause to remember, honor, and give thanks for the generations of military men and women who for 250 years have given the last full measure of devotion, who have sailed over that final horizon in order to uphold the banner of freedom. These were people not unlike any of us, who carried with them hopes and dreams of what their lives would be. And yet those aspirations were cut short in order to forge a world where we could hope and dream. Memory is a luxury only afforded the living, and so Memorial Day carries with it a collective duty to ensure that sacrifice is not forgotten. It was duty that led many of these service members to willingly face trials and deprivations that we can scarcely imagine. It was also compassion that drove them forward, compassion to safeguard loved ones, neighbors, families, and generations to come. This morning we have solemnly reflected on how the tragedy of September 11th forever transformed our armed forces, awakened a new generation to answer the call of duty. We remember those who stepped forward in the wake of that dark day, including the brave service members who laid down their lives during Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, and throughout the global war on terror. They heeded the call to leave the safety of port and the comforts of home, and thus we can hear an echo from afar which says, "Greater love has no one than this, that they lay down their life for their friends." We have gathered to keep alive their memories out of gratitude. We pray for those families, friends, and loved ones whose grief is fresh, for those men and women who still carry the scars, visible and invisible, of battle with them. May your peace, which passes all understanding, guard their hearts and minds, and may we work for a time when swords will be beaten into plowshares, and long for the day when every tear is wiped away. We pray all these things in the name which is above every name. Amen.
For the wreath dedication, we will be placing a wreath at our Veterans Memorial, our Police and Firefighter Memorial, and our Medal of Valor Memorial. Will those presenting the wreaths please receive the wreath you will be presenting? Earlier this morning, wreaths were placed at our Prosser Memorial, dedicated to the first Californian soldier killed in Afghanistan, our World War II Memorial, and our newest Vietnam Veterans Memorial.
his dad gave him, tucked away in his duffel bag. He said, "Don't worry about a thing, Pops. You'll be getting this when I get back." walking down the road through the city on a routine patrol. Shots ring out and he hits the ground. Sergeant yells a man down. And this is for the ones who ain't coming back. Fought for the country in Iraq. And they left their families at home. Come on here at night long. Carried his coffin onto the plane. Gave a salute as they read off his name. We packed away that duffel bag and the silver star that he got from his dad. It was one old man when we got off the plane. No one there for him to greet. The whole damn company shook his hand. Brothers to the son you will never see. And this is for the ones who ain't coming back. Fought for the country in Iraq. And they left their families at home. Come on here at night long. And this is for the ones who ain't coming back. Fought for the country in Iraq.
As we wait for our jumpers, once again, let's give a round of applause for the Navy Band Southwest, who's going to entertain us. Everyone go ahead and please be seated.
Folks, if you look up, the skydivers have jumped. They're right up over the flags here.
family by my side. I thank the Lord above to be living here today. 'Cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time to stand and say, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the one who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
God Bless the USA was performed in several other songs by Laura Savitz. Laura, we checked, and we believe this is your 10th year with us? Well, that's confidence. Okay, 10 years. Thank you. Would the skydiving team please join us up front to be recognized?
While we're waiting for the skydivers to take their gear off, there's one person that I would like to recognize, and he's been coming and supporting our event for the last few years with his Jeep. And he's also in our program. That's Major Carl Gutierrez, retired, who served 2 tours in Iraq.
Big round of applause for our jumpers. If y'all would come up and introduce yourselves and how many jumps that you've had, sir.
It's not working, is it, Chris?
I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me now? All right. Jay Stokes, Army Special Forces, 24 years, 28,000 jumps.
Simeon Lott from Kent in England, 12 years Army Infantry, 20,000 jumps. I jumped the Navy flag.
I'm Ken Lewis. I got 4,000 jumps. This is my 20th year jumping here.
J.C. Coldren, U.S. Army Special Forces, 21,000 free falls.
Annie Helliwell,
11,000 jumps, 46 years, and I'm representing the U.S. Air Force. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Mary Tortomasi. I've been jumping here about 10 years, and I have 4,500 jumps. I was jumping the Coast Guard flag.
Jim Dolan, retired civilian teacher. I was jumping the Marine flag, and I have about 7,900 jumps.
Gerald Light, I did not serve, sorry. 10,000 jumps, I was jumping the Space Force flag.
Thank you all. Thank you. Chris Wendell, I fly coach, and I will not be jumping out of a perfectly good plane. Ooh, that's better. Thank you. My daughter is 21 years old and about to complete her junior year in college. After over 2 decades of talking to her and her just nodding at me, not listening to a word I said, or at least I assumed, she recently quoted something back to me that I told her years ago, and we had our final breakthrough. My point is that the next generation is watching and maybe even listening, even when they appear to have no interest in what we're trying to hand down to them. So, it's very important that we pass down the traditions and wisdom we've acquired over the years, and that includes why we're here today. I believe it's our responsibility to teach our children that Memorial Day isn't barbecue day or just another day off from school. It's a whole lot more than that. Children will learn what Memorial Day really is by watching us. So let your children see how you express gratitude for those who have sacrificed everything so we could enjoy our freedoms. Let them feel your respect. Let them see through all the chaos that's coming at them, through all forms of social media, that we still live in a country worth believing in, respecting, and at times, yes, dying for. For some families, like my friends, the Polinos, today isn't a long party weekend. It's a permanent empty seat at the dinner table. We cannot ever repay the fallen, nor will we ever be able to repay the debt we owe to them, but we can choose to live a life worthy of it. We can live in a way that justifies their sacrifices. Our Green Hills team on Saturday, our family and friends, and the various scouting groups around the South Bay have assumed the honor of placing a flag in the memorial of every veteran who served their country that is buried at our memorial park. While placing the nearly 9,000 flags, we encouraged our volunteers, both the young and the old, to read the name, the rank, and the war that that veteran fought in out loud so that patriot would not be forgotten. Before you leave today, I encourage you to read a few names etched on the gravestones next to an American flag to honor that person that once had a voice, a laugh, a future, many of them that never had a chance to unfold. Today, don't just remember the sacrifice, remember the person. The best way to honor their sacrifice is not just to remember it, but to carry their commitment forward by being kind to others. Live with purpose so that your sons and daughters will remember what you said and what you stood for, so they might live a life that reflects your better values. As we leave today, please remember our country is celebrating its 250th birthday on July 4th. And remember that the actions you take today will shape the direction our country moves in for the next 250 years. So choose wisely. Please drive safely and enjoy the time with your family today. God bless our troops, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
I'm just going to add one last thing. If you enjoyed yourself here today, paying honor and tribute to our military, our fallen heroes, please give a shout out to everybody here, all our military, but also please join us again next year and invite somebody. because we need to continue to show our support for our country, our military, our first responders, because we were not free until they fought for us. Thank you all for being here.